Kim Kardashian had just arrived in Paris to attend Paris Fashion Week. She checked into an exclusive residence, the Hotel de Pitolis, a discreet sanctuary favored by celebrities and billionaires alike. With minimal security, the hotel offered peace and privacy, but it also made her dangerously vulnerable. Meanwhile, Kim's social media lit up with posts flaunting her diamond jewelry, designer outfits, and glamorous selfies from inside the hotel. Unknowingly, each post became a puzzle piece for a group of silent watchers. They weren't ordinary criminals. They were the Grandpa Robbers, a crew of elderly men, aged between 60 and 70, determined to pull off one last heist before retiring from the criminal underworld. Omar 8 Kidake, also known as Old Omar, was the mastermind behind the plan. He assembled a team of 5 elderly ex-convicts and 2 younger men with tech expertise. Combining old-school cunning with modern digital know-how, they began crafting their strategy. They studied Kim's schedule, the hotel's layout, and even her nighttime routines. From her Instagram and Snapchat posts, they learned that Kim was alone in the hotel that night. Her bodyguard had gone out to escort her sister to a nightclub. This was the moment they had been waiting for. On October 2nd, 2016, at around 2:30 a.m., 6 robbers arrived on bicycles, wearing French police jackets and masks. 2 of them entered the hotel. Holding the receptionist at gunpoint, they forced him to lead them to Kim's room. Kim, who was relaxing in her suite, panicked the moment she heard unfamiliar footsteps. 2 masked men burst through the door. They tied her up, sealed her mouth with duct tape, and locked her in the bathroom. All she could do was cry and beg them not to take her life. In just 6 minutes, the robbers made off with $10 million worth of jewelry, including her iconic 20-carat diamond engagement ring. One of them also took her phone, cutting her off completely from the outside world. After the robbery, Paris police were left baffled. The hotel had no functioning security cameras, but luck was on the investigators' side. One of the robbers had dropped a diamond necklace while fleeing. The piece was later identified as belonging to Kim. More crucially, fingerprints and DNA were found on the zip ties and duct tape used to restrain her. Forensic analysis pointed to 8 Kidake, a man with a well-known international criminal record. A major breakthrough came in January 2017. 17 people were arrested, including the elderly men who played key roles in the heist. 8 years later, in April 2025, the trial began in a Paris courtroom. Kim Kardashian appeared in person, her voice trembling as she testified. She revealed that the trauma still haunts her every night. "I thought I was going to die that night," she said. On May 23, 2025, 8 out of 10 defendants were found guilty. However, due to their advanced age and declining health, most were given suspended sentences. Even 8 Kidake, the mastermind behind the heist, received just 8 years, with 5 years suspended, meaning he would not return to prison. One of the robbers even remarked, "We didn't hurt her. We just took a little money." But for Kim, that night changed her life forever. After the robbery, Kim Kardashian was never quite the same. Behind the glittering camera flashes and her Instagram smiles, she hid a deep, lingering trauma. She disappeared from social media for weeks. At one point, she even blamed herself for flaunting a luxurious lifestyle online. In an exclusive interview, Kim admitted that she would wake up night after night from recurring nightmares. "I felt like the world saw me as an object, not a person," she said. She began learning self-defense, reinforced security at her home, and stopped wearing flashy jewelry altogether. The robbery wasn't just about what was stolen. It was about what was violently taken, her sense of safety. What made this case so unusual was that most of the perpetrators were elderly men. The French and international media dubbed them les papis braqueurs, the grandpa robbers. But they weren't just any old men. They were seasoned criminals, veterans of the underworld with decades of experience. For them, this heist was their final act, a last performance before retirement, like aging outlaws chasing one final thrill. But the world didn't see them as action movie anti-heroes. They were the men who made a mother of 2 believe she was about to die. Ironically, the heist made them famous. Some even became underground celebrities in Europe's criminal. The trial sparked public debate. Many questioned why the sentences were so lenient. Was it because their old age made them more forgivable? Or was it because the victim was a celebrity, someone seen as too rich to deserve sympathy? In court, Kim remained composed. She wasn't there for revenge, but for justice. "I forgive them," she said, "but I will never forget." Yet the court couldn't return the one thing Kim valued most, the sense of safety that had been taken from her forever. After the tragedy, Kim Kardashian's life changed dramatically. She became far more selective about what she shared on social media. She also became a vocal advocate for personal security, especially for celebrities who are often targeted because of their digital exposure. On a larger scale, the case served as a powerful lesson in the dangers of digital oversharing, that every post, location tag, or story can become a roadmap for criminals. While the perpetrators quietly live out their twilight years, Kim continues to rebuild her strength, not just as a celebrity, but as a human being who once had everything stripped away by fear. The robbery of Kim Kardashian stands as one of the most shocking criminal cases in modern celebrity history, not just because of the staggering value of what was stolen or the unlikely identity of the perpetrators, but because it forced the world to confront an uncomfortable truth. Luxury can become a liability. This case underscored one thing. Even at the height of fame and fortune, no one is ever truly safe. And for Kim, that night in Paris will forever remain a haunting memory, a reminder that behind the glittering facade of celebrity, a darker reality waits silently in the shadows. After this case, the world began to ask, are we the ones who created monsters from the digital age? Kim was just one of many victims who unknowingly became a target through social media. The jewelry she flaunted, the locations she shared, even her daily routines, all turned into weapons used against her. The media and public were quick to judge. Some scoffed, calling it the price of showing off. But who really built this ecosystem? We did. Those who hit like, who demand exclusivity, who crave a glimpse into the extraordinary lives of the famous. The robbery of Kim Kardashian was more than a criminal act. It was a mirror reflecting a world obsessed with the illusion of perfection and paying a steep price for it. Today, Kim is back, on screen, on Instagram, in the very world that once betrayed her. But she's no longer the same. She moves more carefully now, more wisely. The trauma still lingers, hidden behind makeup and perfect lighting. And the robbers? Some served light sentences. Others slipped back into ordinary life, as if nothing ever happened. But history will always remember them as the grandpa robbers who managed to outsmart security systems, humiliate a global celebrity, and expose the fragile illusion of social media culture. The story ends here, but the scars and the lessons remain. For Kim Kardashian, that night in Paris wasn't just a robbery. It was a turning point, a moment that revealed, even in the most glamorous world, no one can truly save you, but yourself. After the trial ended and the media spotlight faded, the shadow of that night continued to haunt Kim Kardashian's life. She returned to Paris several times for fashion and business, but the atmosphere was no longer the same. The cold wind of the romantic city now carried a sense of caution. She was no longer free to walk around or party like before. Behind the professional smile and carefully curated content, Kim gradually reshaped her daily routines. Late-night outings were reduced. She no longer stayed in high-rise suites without tight security. Even her household staff and personal assistants were asked to report all activities with greater precision. She shifted from merely looking glamorous to becoming extremely vigilant, protecting her private time, choosing more secure venues, and avoiding low-profile or poorly monitored appearances. More importantly, the image of those elderly robbers served as a lasting reminder. Danger can come from anyone, even those we least suspect. It was a bitter lesson that fame is not a shield against harm. For her, Paris was no longer just a city of glamour, but a symbol of a trauma that would never truly fade. Behind the camera lights and publicity, Kim Kardashian rose from her traumatic experience. She decided to turn the robbery case into a moment of transformation, for herself and for the public. The first step, she began actively speaking about the importance of digital security education. Together with relevant organizations, she organized seminars and social media campaigns that encouraged users to be cautious when sharing locations and luxury items. She wanted people to understand that every post is not just content. It could be a roadmap for someone with bad intentions. The next step, she supported celebrity security initiatives. Kim helped fund the development of privacy technology in public venues and digital security consulting services for influencers and public figures. She worked hard to design new protocols, ensuring that every celebrity had adequate digital protection, starting with herself. Additionally, Kim shared through vlogs and interviews that trauma is not just a bad memory. It's a call to take mental health more seriously. She admitted undergoing therapy, mindfulness training, and even intensive yoga to cope with the post-event stress. She now speaks openly about her inner struggles after the incident, encouraging others not to be ashamed of seeking professional help. These actions not only shaped Kim into a stronger figure, but also made her an inspiration to many. From that bitter experience, she transformed fear into a social force, becoming a powerful voice advocating for digital safety, privacy, and mental health in the age of social media. Even though Kim had tried to move on, the bitter reality continued to haunt her. Fame, which once brought her pride, now felt like a double-edged sword. Every step she took, every flash of a camera, even each story she posted, became a constant reminder that the world was watching her, sometimes a little too closely. A few years after the Paris incident, Kim experienced a panic attack at an international airport. The clicking of paparazzi cameras triggered a wave of anxiety. Memories of that night came rushing back. She pulled aside, covered her face, and could only say to her assistant, "I don't think I can breathe." That's the reality the public rarely sees. Behind the flawless makeup was a woman who still had to calm herself every night before sleep. She even changed hotel rooms multiple times while traveling, just to make sure no one knew her exact location. Beyond that, Kim began to question the meaning of fame itself. Was the price she paid too high? Had the entertainment world stolen her privacy for good? Though she didn't give up, her steps became more calculated. She no longer simply showed her life, but began setting boundaries. She still appeared in public, but with strategies that were far more thoughtful and secure. Her social media team now operated under the supervision of cybersecurity experts. Kim realized that in this ever-evolving world, protecting oneself is no longer just about avoiding physical danger, but understanding that threats can come from screens, from signals, from the smallest pieces of information we share without thinking. Time passed, and the wounds slowly began to heal. But Kim Kardashian was no longer the same woman she had been before the robbery. She had changed, not to become weaker, but stronger, sharper, and more aware. She began creating new spaces to speak out, not just about fashion or beauty, but about safety. She invited trauma experts to her YouTube channel to discuss the impact of violence on mental health. She didn't hesitate to call herself a survivor, not a victim. Her personal life also became more private. Her children were protected tightly, kept far from the media spotlight. She no longer posted activities in real time. There was always a delay in editing, all for the sake of security. For her, protecting her family was more important than likes or views. Kim also expanded her influence in the world of philanthropy. She founded a foundation focused on digital security, women's protection, and mental health education. From her own experience, she knew how few people truly understood how to cope with trauma, especially those living in the public eye. Now, even though she still attends fashion shows, product launches, and glamorous galas, there's a new layer to her. A layer not seen by the camera, but felt in every word she speaks. She is no longer just a celebrity. She is a symbol of transformation. And perhaps, that is the greatest victory from the tragedy, when someone nearly broken by fear manages to create hope for so many others. Time moved on, but that night in Paris remained vivid in Kim's memory, not merely as a nightmare, but as a catalyst for transformation. The incident carved a deep wound, yet it also gave birth to a stronger, more grounded awareness. Kim began working on a book, not a glamorous autobiography, but an honest account of fear, recovery, and change. She wrote in between her busy schedule, pouring out everything she had never revealed on camera, about the quiet tears she shed each night, about the paranoia that surged whenever she saw someone in a black hoodie, about the shame of feeling foolish for having showcased everything on social media, when all she had wanted was to share her happiness. The book, which was eventually published 2 years later, became a bestseller within weeks, not merely because it bore Kim's name, but because of the rare honesty it offered in the world of celebrity. Many readers, especially women, said they felt seen. They, too, had known fear, had felt unsafe, had felt alone. But through Kim's story, they realized that it was possible to rise again. One of the most powerful quotes from the book read, "I'm no longer afraid of looking vulnerable, because that's where true strength is born." From a dark and painful experience, Kim turned her wounds into a legacy of strength for herself and for the world. Several years later, the world had changed. And Kim, she became a part of that change. She began engaging in humanitarian projects. One of her primary focuses was protecting women who were victims of violence, physical, psychological, and digital. She donated funds to build safe houses for survivors of domestic abuse. She lobbied major tech companies to strengthen user data protection. Kim also collaborated with educational institutions to develop digital safety curricula starting at an early age. She believed that if children were taught early about the importance of privacy and online boundaries, their futures would be safer from the traps of the digital world. Behind all the success, Kim remained human. She still had restless nights, still stayed up later when checking into a new hotel. But now, she was no longer alone. She had a team that understood, children who gave her strength, and a community she built from her own painful experience. Perhaps the Kim Kardashian, once known only for reality TV and a luxurious lifestyle, had now evolved into a symbol of something far greater, the power to turn trauma into a movement. And in the end, that dark night in Paris, the one that nearly erased her, became the foundation of a new world she built for herself. A world where safety, courage, and humanity took center stage, shining far brighter than any camera flash ever could. Even though years have passed and Kim Kardashian's life appears to have regained its balance, one thing has never truly disappeared: the shadow of that night in Paris. The incident didn't just shake her body and mind. It altered her sense of security and her entire belief system about the world. Every step Kim takes now is guided by strategy. She no longer chooses filming locations on a whim. Even family gatherings must go through strict security screening. The outside world, once her stage, has become a minefield she must navigate with extreme caution. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, she wakes up from nightmares. The faces of those elderly robbers, with their calm yet menacing eyes, continue to haunt her memory. In her private journal, Kim wrote that it was the calmness of the robbers that terrified her the most, as if they weren't stealing, but simply carrying out something ordinary, as if someone's life could be taken so easily. But that fear never paralyzed her. On the contrary, she turned it into a reminder that true strength isn't about forgetting fear, but about making peace with it and continuing to move forward. With wounds that never truly healed, Kim built something far greater than just an image. She created systems, structures, and networks that could endure, even if she was no longer at the center of attention. One of her greatest achievements was founding the Safe Circle Foundation, an international organization dedicated to providing education, protection, and access to trauma therapy for women and teens who have been victims of digital abuse. Within this foundation, Kim served not just as the founder, but also as a mentor. She also initiated collaborations between influencers and tech regulatory bodies to establish a code of ethics for social media. In several public speeches, Kim often emphasized, "We all want to be seen, but we also deserve to feel safe." Behind the scenes, her children are growing up with a different understanding of the digital world. They are taught that popularity isn't everything, that protecting one's privacy is just as important as celebrating achievements. For Kim, This is the greatest legacy she could leave. Not wealth, not fame, but awareness of the importance of safety, both physical and emotional. Now, when someone mentions the name Kim Kardashian, it's no longer just about glamorous dresses or reality TV. It's also about the courage to confront fear and the strength to turn tragedy into change.